21 guys in your packets working with the quadratics. So there's a couple, 21. There's a couple of vocabulary words up here. We're going to skip around to some pages to cover some things that might be more. I remember how to do this. Okay, so vertex, zeros, and axis of symmetry. Okay, so looking at this picture here to relate to those three words. Where is the vertex?
Vertex. One.
Can I talk? It's a maximum or minimum.
Right.
The vertex is going to be,
Where is it
there.
in
Down
this?
at the bottom, where the lines meet. Right?
Give me a specific coordinate.
No, I got it.
1, 1.
No, it's not. It's
That's 1, 1.
Negative 2, negative 3, miss.
Negative 2,
Negative.
negative 3. This point right here, again, it's a minimum or a maximum, yes. The vertex is yes. Negative 2, negative 3.
No, I don't think so. No.
Okay, so I need to continue, ladies and gentlemen. This, yes, is your vertex.
Anyone want some water?
No. Thank you for asking. Water.
Okay, question. Where are your roots?
Our roots.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Oh well. Negative 5. Negative 5 and 1.
Negative 5
And 1.
and 1. These right here, yes, they are your roots. So your two roots are 0.
Negative 5.
Oh, I wrote it wrong.
Miss. Oh,
Hold on.
sorry. It's okay, miss. We all make it.
Yep, but I remember that if I make a mistake, I can fix it.
Hi, Joe Handy.
Johandy, who is this talking?
Hola, amigo.
Who is this talking, Joe?
All right, so this is 1,
It's not Matt. It's the one.
0, and this would be negative 5. My ink is still wet there.
Oh my God. Negative 5, you said, miss?
Yep, that number right there is supposed to be negative 5.
All right, there's no problem, miss.
It's all right. It can stay the same.
Yeah.
If I write on it, it's gonna.
You can just write it on the top.
Yeah, I'll just write it on top.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be negative 5. Had to white it out.
Wait, that's one.
Okay, where is the axis of symmetry?
She got some lipstick on, miss. I know she better.
Okay, where's the axis of symmetry?
No, yes, she should.
Misael,
Yes, ma'am.
stop.
Stop being so jealous, miss,
Of what?
of us. Because you and your husband don't go out there no more.
Oh my God.
Where's the axis of symmetry?
Axis of symmetry.
What does the axis of symmetry do?
It's like
cuts it in half.
Corn. Sorry. Gulo.
Miss Ayla, say another word of French.
Hey, what's that word?
What?
Okay,
That you said the
so,
other day? What is Papi Juno?
okay, so continuing. Axis of symmetry is directly related to the vertex. Notice this line went through which point?
What is that?
Negative 2,
Negative
negative 3.
It went through the vertex. But an axis of symmetry is only what? Back up to here.
X equals.
X equals, and then A is just some random number. Okay? So my axis of symmetry would be X equals, and what X number did it pass through right here?
Negative 1.
Negative
Negative 3.
2.
I can't see.
Negative 2.
It's in your packet.
Yeah.
Negative 2. Okay? It went through negative 2. Notice the relationship between these two.
What page is that?
Okay?
21.
Okay. All right. Number 2. Read number 2.
Number 2. What is an equation of the axis of symmetry? Of the parabola?
Parabola. Okay. So what's the key word were they asking you to find?
Equation.
The axis of symmetry.
They want the equation for the axis of symmetry. Okay.
Equation.
Which questions can you cross out?
Um,
Automatically. I don't even need to check them.
So what? Wait, what you
one.
put for?
You can cross it out, miss, because it's X. No, you have to cross out
The Y's.
We have to cross out the y's because the axis of symmetry should always be in the form of x
So you can
equals.
cross out 2 and 4.
So the axis of symmetry is always x equals. So we can cross off choice 2 and cross off choice 4.
Wow.
Okay, the question.
Gas, miss. I think it's
I don't even need to guess because I'm just going to go right to my calculator because this is an equation, and then I'm going to stick it in.
Oh, don't do it.
Negative.
Let me do it. Don't do it.
Well, I have to type it in so I know if you guys have it right.
All right, but it'll say.
Okay, I won't say it. I typed it in.
Plus 6.
I'm blowing it up over here.
We go to our table or graph, miss? Table.
Or graph. Depends on how you want to look at it.
So wait, what you? Okay.
I think it's. No. The answer is miss.
3 is in x equals 3, or 3 is in the choice 3.
The choice.
Okay, so let's take a look.
No. Fuck. Fuck.
Here's my graph. Where's the axis of symmetry? The line down
The middle.
the line down the middle. So if I draw this line down the middle, what x number did it just pass through?
Number 3.
Passed through at 3.
It's okay. We all
I
make
knew I should have took a dump this morning.
So the correct answer here is 1. Now, the question was, did you go to your table or do you go to your graph? Now, if we went to our table, just to make sure I'm clear, if I go to my table, we can see it in the table because the numbers above it and the numbers below that start to repeat itself. It's like finding the vertex point, the turning point, and all that stuff that you would be able to find it. So there's remember the numbers above it and below it are the same for a quadratic. So I could find it in the table too. I just have to know how to look for it. Or you can find it via the graph by just line down the middle. Okay. All right, so that was vertex. Okay, I'm going to jump to number 4.
Number 4? Yep.
We'll come back to number 3 in a minute. I'm going to jump to number 4. Obviously, the key words here are zeros. Yep, you definitely would, Dwayne. You just type in the equation into your calculator. Now, my problem is, how do you type in an equals 6? That's a good question. Now, we can't type in an equals 6. What should it equal? This can't be here. Yup, somebody said it. That needs to be 0. So how do you get rid of it then? By subtracting it. So now what happens is on this side, this became 0. I'm good. Now we just add on a minus 6 onto our calculator. So now that you have it mainly typed in, we had to get rid of 6 because this always has to be 0. Now I can go and do it. So you can either look at the graph or you can look at the table and find your zeros. Where are my zeros?
I tried to type it in the table when you pop up.
What's the correct answer?
I'm going to take a just guess, and I'm going to go with 2.
Well, it's on the screen. I did it.
Oh, is it?
You can't just guess because I know that your calculator was messed up, but
1 negative 6.
close.
Dang it.
That's not 1.
Negative 1 6.
Negative 1 6.
Oh, negative 1 6. Dang it!
Negative 1 is here.
That's what I said.
Okay, now remember, what's another word for zeros that they could possibly use?
What'd you say, vertex?
Nope. Roots.
Oh, rules.
Zeros, roots, solutions. They could also use the word solutions.
So sad.
Okay, so they might ask for what are the solutions of the following equation, what are the roots of the following equation, what are the zeros of the following equation, and they all pretty much mean the same thing. Where does it touch the x-axis? Okay. All right. Now, going back to this one. Yeah. Let's say this is a 2-point question on your Regents exam, and they ask you to rewrite this into vertex form. Can you do it?
Probably.
Maybe. Could you find the vertex?
Yeah.
By doing what?
Plug it in.
Plug it in.
That's simple.
Do it.
That's simple.
In your calculator, miss, and y equals?
Well, if it has f of x or y equals, you know, that you should know by now.
Yeah.
I'll change that to a 6.
With the cheese.
Make that a plus 5.
No parentheses.
The parentheses represent your y.
Okay.
This one right here represents your y value. That's really y. Okay? Where's your vertex?
Oh, wait. 3, negative 4.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, see? On my calculator, you can see the numbers above, and the numbers below repeat themselves.
Good job.
Or you can go to the graph,
She has pink eye. Don't touch her.
and we can see this point right here is at 3 and negative 4. Okay, so the vertex was 3, negative 4. Now, if this was a 2-point question, how much would you get?
Right now, 1.
We would get 1 point. You guys probably won't learn how to put it in vertex form.
Yeah, no.
Okay, can you teach us?
It's a method called completing the square.
Yep, that's too long. That's how.
No, I want to learn so I can actually get a good grade.
Okay, so I'll model it. This would have to go over to this side temporarily,
Okay.
making it a negative 5.
Okay.
Now what happens is I need to complete this square. And what do you guys know about a square?
There's 4
Then it
sides.
has
What about all 4 sides?
Oh my God, he said
All equivalent.
They're all equal. Okay, so how would I get a negative 6 from two numbers that are the same? I mean, two numbers that would add up to negative 6 that are the same.
negative 3 and yeah.
This would be negative 3 plus negative 3. Okay, so that would be completing the square. Okay, so what this turns into is what you just said. Negative 3 and negative 3 would become x minus 3, but how many of them? 2.
Because it's
A negative 3 and a negative 3 means I had 2 of them, which in this case we would power that to 2. Now, it's not finished. This number we moved, but if we do a negative 3 plus a negative 3, we also have to do a negative 3 times a negative 3 to give us a perfect square. Equals 9. So if I add a 9 to this side, I have to add a 9 to this negative 5 over here, which creates a 4. But now I'm going to take this 4 that's on the left-hand side and put it back on the right-hand side and put it as a negative 4. And I'm teaching mainly myself. I know. He wanted to learn how to do it, and I'm teaching myself.
That's what I did.
So now if you look, the vertex form is directly related to these two.
I was paying attention.
But that disconnect of you were paying attention to you're not paying attention to coming back and paying attention isn't going to work because I'm done.
and I heard all of that.
All right, so that's how you would do it, but not necessarily that you need to because you can find the vertex without the vertex form. Continuing. Number 5. This should be easy enough.
What's up with my holy grass? Wait a minute.
You okay, son?
This is YouTube.
Oh,
you can eliminate 3 out of these.
Hold on.
I think we gotta plot them in the calculator, miss. To be honest, I think.
Well, if it asks you which of the following graphs,
That's turned down.
Miss.
cross off the ones that are turned down. This is a positive quadratic. This is a positive quadratic, so it's not a frowny face, it's a smiley face. And if you graphed it correctly,
If you graphed it correctly,
you get D as your answer.
D,
I knew that.
you get D, right?
Yeah, you get D.
Hold on.
No problem.
I always
Wait a
get
minute.
D,
No problem.
It's 22.
even when I don't want D. I get D.
Okay. Flipping. We're still working with the quadratics even though we're going on to page 22. And yes, I realize I went 6, 7, 9.
Yep.
Okay. So they give you this.
She said 6, 9.
Okay. This is a 4-point question. Okay, so continuing. Some of you guys are reading this.
Yep.
Okay. So, what are you going to type into your calculators?
100 minus 16x.
So when we see h of t or f of x or anything like that, we should know that we're going to y equals on our calculator. Okay? So I'm going to type in exactly what I can see. 100 minus 16. Now remember, you can't type t. You have to put in what letter?
X.
You have to put in x squared.
You switch them.
Okay? All right, so now I'm going to go to my table.
Yep.
Not A.
Dang. I was about to,
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's so not working out for me. I'm going to go directly to my table. I'm not going to be able to see this on my graph because this 100 goes way up too high. Your graph only goes up to 10, so you're not going to be able to see it. So what we can see is I'm going to write down the table as I see x and y. I see 0, 100. I see 1, 84. I see 2, 36. And I see 3, negative 1, 44. Okay, so yes, my table went down, but that's fine. Okay, so I'm going to move my calculator out of the way. Okay, find the value of h of 0. What is it? 100. Remember, this is your t, your x. So I go to where there's 0, and it's 100. So h of 0 equals 100. Okay, what does this output represent?
The height of the building.
The what?
The height of the building.
Not the height of the building. Be careful.
Oh, where they dropped it from.
The height of where they're dropping it from. So it's the height of the ball at how many seconds? How many seconds passed? 0. So remember, this is time, this is height. So at 0 seconds, the ball is 100 feet high. That means it's 100 feet up in the air. Okay, what's h of 2?
36.
H of 2, yep, you just go right to your table, 2, and then you read over, it's 36. Equals 36. Does our equation predict that the ball will hit the ground at 2 seconds? Will the ball hit the ground at 2 seconds? Why not? Okay, so we're at a good start. No, because
because at 100 seconds,
at 2 seconds? Yeah, it says at 2 seconds. At 2 seconds, does it predict that it hits the ground?
No,
Why?
because it was 100 feet in the air. It was 100 feet.
It was 100 feet in the air, but we're not caring about where it started at. We're caring about where it's at 2 seconds. No, because
It's 36 feet in the air.
at 2 seconds,
It's 36 feet.
thank you, it is 36 feet in
Now, if it was
the
my mom or something 100 feet in the air, she'd have been
air.
in 25 seconds.
Okay, now quick question. Would we count 3 negative 44 or no? No, because can your height be negative? No. Your height can only go down as far as what? 0. So that means somewhere between 2 and 3 seconds, somewhere in between here, the ball hits the ground. Somewhere in there it's 0. We don't know exactly where it's 0, but it's between there. It's between 2 and 3.
You can put 2.5.
You could try to take a guess at 2.5. Okay, so on here, I can change my table set. I can do second window. And if I started at 0, I can change the table set to count by, you said like, let's say 0.5s, right? So now when I go back into the table, it's starting to count by 0.5s, and we can actually see it at, yes, it does. At exactly 2.5, it reaches a height of 0. So we can clearly see at 2.5 seconds, it hits the ground, not at 2 seconds. Okay, so you can switch your table to 0. So now if I go back to second table set, I'm going to change that back to changing by 1s again, so this way the next person doesn't mess the calculator up. Okay? Okay. All right, so continuing. If you need to, Dwayne, go. Okay, so continuing. What is the vertex and x-intercepts of the given graph? That one should be easy. You should be able to look at your graph and figure that out. Although it's slightly messed up, you can still see it. You should be able to find the vertex. And what are your x-intercepts?
So vertex is 1, negative 1, negative 1, negative 3. It's not?
Nope, that goes down to 4.
Oh.
So 1, 2, 3, 4. So it goes down to negative 4. So you're close. What are your x-intercepts?
I know what the vertex is. It's D. Then answer D, right?
Is that a 3? Or is that a
That's a 3.
negative 3?
Yep,
Negative 1.
that's negative 3 and positive 1. So these two right here are your x-intercepts. Now remember, we called them roots, we called them solutions. Okay? We've called them a bunch of different things, and now they're calling them x-intercepts, but they're all the same point. So what's the correct answer here? Okay, so I'm going to allow you guys to attempt 10, 11, and 12 on your own, and then I will collect them and grade them.